Welcome csc230 to EX5-Jumbotron. This is part 4, and we're just going to wrap up some things here, some cosmetic things with our buttons and even with some fonts. We won't get into any responsive design or any media queries with this one, so we'll keep that as a separate kind of thing because there's a lot of work to do with getting the little drop-down menu to work and stuff like that. So we'll just kind of wrap this part of it up with just the cosmetics, so hopefully this won't take long. So I'm going to go back here. The last thing we did was we just kind of made these buttons have a little border on them, and just to compare to the other one, it looks pretty much the same. These buttons are a little bit smaller. They have black, so that's okay. I think the way we have them is okay. Everything looks pretty good. Our name is a little bit bigger, so that's okay. We might make this just a little bit smaller, and we'll make that text black, and we'll make it so that when we hover over this, the background color will get a little darker, just like the other one. So let's go do that. And remember, that's the part under main calls. So we go to our main calls section here, and that's actually going to be our links that are in there. So let's just see how we target those. Here's our links that are in there. So those are A elements that are inside of main calls. They're also inside the column, but they're all going to be inside main calls. So we could just do main calls as the parent and then just do any of the links that are inside there, because they're the only links that are inside there. So we'll use main calls as the parent. So going back to here, we'll do main calls, and we'll do dot main calls, and that will basically target that div, and then we'll do a space and we'll do a link, and then we can even do a visited, and we'll do that first. And what we want to do is just do color, and we actually just want it black. So we're just going to do black, and we could just type black there, and we just want to make those links black. And we might even want to make the buttons a little bit smaller. I'm going to make this 6, make the padding 6 and 12. Just make the buttons a little bit smaller. And that should be it. That should make the buttons look a little better. And we're also going to do a background color. So that's also going to be a hover. So I'm going to highlight this even before I look at it yet. And it'll be main calls, a hover. And I'll get rid of the visited and the link. And I'll just do background color. And I'm just going to do kind of a light gray, so maybe I'll do the same kind of light gray DDD and see how that looks. That looks a little better. I can still see the border a little bit, so I like that. So that looks good. So our buttons look good. They're a little bit smaller. That button looks good. And what I want to do now is, well, actually, let's make this a little bit smaller down here. So I'm going to go down to copyright, and I'm just going to take the font size a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to do like a 0.9 em. And just make it a little bit smaller and see how that looks. And that's good. That's a good size down there for my copyright. So that looks good. And now also what I'm going to do is go into Google Fonts. So I'm just going to go to Google Fonts. And you could just search Google Fonts and it'll bring it up pretty quickly. And I just want to get a sans serif font and a serif font. So you'll see a lot of, very kind of popular sans serif fonts that'll show up right away. Robato's very open sans, source sans. There's a lot of these that are real popular that might work a little bit better. So I might try this. I'll use source sans here. And what I'll do is I'm just going to use the regular here, and I'll just add it. And then I'll get added right now. And then I'll also look for a serif. So go to serif. And I think I'm going to use, I like Robato slab. So I'm going to go here and choose the 700. Which is a nice bold. It's a nice kind of slab serif. It's not completely a slab serif, but it has a nice look to it. And I'll add that. And when you do that in Google Fonts, they show you the fonts that are added here. They give you a link that you could put in your HTML. We could do that, or they give you an import that you could put in your, now not the style part, but just this import, you could put that in your CSS. So either way, and then this is how you apply them with these font families down here. Now just keep in mind that these kind of list all the fonts that are in there. So however you want to do that, if you want to do it the standard way or the import, I've been doing the import, so I'm just going to copy this right now without the style tags. I'll copy it, and I'm going to put it at the top of my CSS, and I'll even put it before global styles, and I'll just put that link up there. So that links to fonts that are located on the Google server that people don't have on their computers. They'll load basically when the page loads. So it's Robato slab, and you can see when they have 2 words to the name, they put a plus sign. And when they put more than one font, they actually put a vertical slash in between. See, Source Sans Pro has pluses in there. So that's how they put more than one font in there. And they also put the weights in there with a colon. There's 700. This one just doesn't have anything, which would be just the 400 by default. So I'll go back to Google just to make sure I have that. Now here's how you apply them, and you just put the name in there. So I'll just copy this just to have it. I don't even really need to copy this. I could really just copy the font, Source Sans Pro, if I want, and just go back here. And where I'm going to put that is up in body, and I'll just put it in front of Calibri and put a comma. So that'll be my first choice font. Source Sans Pro will be my first choice font. And then for my H1 with the company name, I'm just going to use it here right now. And that's going to be Roboto Slab. And I could copy it. If I'm not sure I might spell it wrong, I'll just copy Roboto Slab. And I'll put that before Georgia with a comma. And I might want to use that other places, like maybe even for the headlines of my columns or something, but just for now, that's okay. And again, it's pretty easy to use, and these are free. And let's just take a look at it. Now, it's not showing up now because I probably have to save this. So I'll save this. My HTML, there's nothing here to really save. And there's the Source Sans Pro, there's the Roboto Slab up there in the bold. Now here's these that are showing up here, these headlines. Actually, I want them bold, so I might have to change them. You can see it's not as bold. I actually did not include the, let me go back here because I didn't actually include, let me go to Customize. I didn't include the Source Sans Pro bold. So I should probably include that and then go back to Embed. And now with these two fonts here, I should probably just copy this again. I'll copy the import again. I shouldn't have to do anything else with the other ones. But I want to make sure it now includes the 400 and the 700. And I'll go back to here, and I'll just paste it over this import part. Now it includes those fonts, so I'll save that. Because I'm not sure that those kind of P's that were in my, I'm not sure if I made them bold or not, the ones that are in the main columns. They weren't H2s or anything, they were just P's. So those little headings that were on there, and let me just check that. Those, I don't know if I made them H2s. Oh yeah, they are H2s. H2 column A, so maybe they'll show up bold now because H2 should show up with a bold, so maybe it just didn't pull in the Source Sans Pro bold. So let's see if that pulls it in. Let's go back here. And now they're bold, so now that pulled it in. So it's using Source Sans Pro for all of the sans serif copy, and it's using, up here, it's using my Roboto Slab. Up here, doesn't look like Roboto Slab. Let me just double check it. It almost looks like, should be Roboto, it almost looks like Georgia up there. And you know what, one more thing I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna add one more. I'm gonna customize this, and I'm gonna put Roboto Slab 400. And I'll go back here to Embed, and I'll just copy the import again. That way I have 4 fonts that I'm loading. Because I don't know if I want that one in bold, our company name. So there's the 400 and the 700. And let me kind of refresh this here. That doesn't look like the Roboto. There it is. Okay, what I did is I just saved it, and now it looks okay. That's the Roboto Slab. I could tell that's the Roboto Slab, and you can tell these are a little bolder. So everything looks okay here. So I think we're okay. We have these things that kind of change color. So everything looks good with this. It's not a bad looking kind of home page, and it's somewhat responsive, other than the issue that we get this kind of gap here, that we'd probably want that to be a full 2 column when it got to a certain point. After a certain point, we'd probably want it to be 2 column and not drop that other one down here and get all this blank space. So that's what we're going to fix with our responsive. But I think for now, with these first 4 parts, we had an intro and then 4 parts. I think we're going to stop here, at least with this part of it. So as far as building this, that's a lot of CSS. You know, if we look at what you did here, you know, that's a lot of CSS to get it started. But again, that's your framework for your entire site. So that's, you know, all that work you did for one page could work for many pages. So that's part of what putting CSS in an external file does. So we're going to stop here with part 4. You could get working on it, and then we'll do the responsive after that.